The Nectar of Immortality, Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj's Discourses on the Eternal, edited by Robert Powell PhD, Chapters 1 to Chapter 7 of 21 chapters. Thanks and gratitude to the editor, Sri Robert Powell, for the compilation and the book. Thanks and gratitude to the website archive.org for the text used in this video. Chapter 1. Prior to conception, what was I? Visitor. After self-realization, does a man still have ego? Maharaj. He has no acquaintance whatsoever with the ego. So long as one identifies with form, the ego is there. Since a self-realized one no longer has any identification with the body form, the question simply does not arise. And what's more, of his very existence he is not even aware. That means the self-realized principle witnesses the manifest principle, which is the life force together with the beingness. Visitor. When one has no form, a person has no more problems? Maharaj. Not a line of the body touches him. That self-realized entity witnesses all the manifest, together with the world and also beingness. Visitor. In the case of one who has self-realized, do all body actions happen spontaneously? Maharaj. All actions happen spontaneously. When the beingness was conceived, the body formation took place spontaneously around it. There was no question of building the body by someone. Visitor. In the case of a jnani, one who is established in the absolute, how can things happen around him for his sustenance? With a child, nature has provided parents so he can develop with their help, but the jnani has nobody around him. Maharaj. When the beingness was in the womb, formation of the body occurred spontaneously, did it not? Similarly, in the case of a jnani, since he is one with nature, he is nature itself, so it is the worry of nature to look after him. No personalities as such are required. Everything just happens around him. Visitor. There are all these great yogis who try to live for thousands of years. They hang upside down, live on air or just on water. What is it that interests them? And why are they living so long with so much suffering? Maharaj. They get some kind of satisfaction out of it, the fact that they are doing something spiritual, are doing penance. They want to prolong that and feel they have a certain duty by prolonging their life in the spiritual field. On what does this beingness depend? Because of what do you survive? This life does not continue. Why? When something goes wrong with the body, it comes to an end. You are confident that you are, but what does it depend on? And through what cause does this confidence, this beingness, disappear? In the process the beingness becomes non-being, and non-being in turn becomes spontaneously being. Now whom should we question as to how this happens? One has to investigate oneself. You have the faith you are. On what does it depend? Nobody investigates on these lines. Why this beingness? How am I? Why am I? On what does it depend? This aspect is never considered. People consider only the relative factors concerning the body-mind, and the area beyond that they never look into. What do you mean by death? A common word, a common parlance. This faith I am has disappeared. The confidence that I am is gone, that is death. Visitor. Some people want to prolong their life. It means that they have self-love. Does it mean that they are within the limits of Maya, illusion? Or have they transcended it? Maharaj. Once you have transcended the body idea, it does not matter whether you live a short or a long time. You do not depend on anything for your existence. Try to find out for yourself what you are, without depending on anything or anyone. Whatever you want to think or ponder over, it is something other than the you think of. You ever ponder over something which you are not? Then, how to think about yourself? This you cannot do. Perceiving this clearly, you become thought free. Whatever you do, you think about something which is not you, even with a noble thought like Ishvara, God, which is still conceptual and therefore apart from yourself. Now, is it possible to think of one's own self? That is the question. Visitor, you say that we should be independent of our functional being. That is, the existence of body-mind, which I try to do, but somehow I cannot be independent of my health. Maharaj, you should ask questions about the subject we are dealing with. You ask gross and irrelevant questions. I am dealing with a topic where one has to ponder on oneself. There is no scope for words, concepts. Also, when there are no words there are no thoughts. What were you doing 8 days before conception in the womb of your mother? Do you know or do I? Explain to me the situation prior to entering the womb. How were you? Only you can say anything about that state. Visitor, I do not remember, but I was beingness. Translator, beingness comes in the womb. Beingness in a dormant condition, in the fetus in the mother's womb. Maharaj, who knows about the beingness before conception? If you had been aware of the beingness before conception, you would not have cared to enter the womb. Visitor, I do not remember. Maharaj, it is not possible because it is a non-attentive state. So, where is the question of remembering? With beingness, attention starts later. Beingness comes in the womb in a dormant condition. That borderline between being and non-being is Mula Maya. Glorious names are given to it. Initially, there is no attention, and suddenly attention begins. Here is an article Maharaj shows his cigarette lighter. Before it came into existence, what was its name? From non-being into the being state, how was it observed? You just felt the touch. Before observing anything, we feel the touch of I am. To realize that state prior to conception, that eternal state, whatever that state is, to abide in that is the highest. Now, for your sake, I attach a name to it, the Parabrahman state, the absolute. Visitor, before conception Maharaj, before conception, whatever state exists, that is your most natural perfect state, it always prevails. When this beingness goes, that state will still be there, it ever prevails. The state in which you were 8 days prior to conception and millions of years back, whatever it was, that state prevails and now also it does. And after the departure of the beingness it still prevails. Because of my present state of health, I am not inclined to talk much, dealing only with this topic. Only a rare person will understand what I am driving at. When someone asks me some gross questions, do you expect me to come down to that level and explain all details as if in a kindergarten class? I have some very strange questions. Before my birth, at my conception, who pulled me into the womb? My father, my mother, and in what form? That would be a possibility provided I had a certain form, color or design prior to conception. Then only could I have been pulled inside. The one who has solved this riddle comes to the conclusion that this beingness and this entire manifest world is unreal. There is no need for knowledge when this beingness was not. When even great gods like Brahma and Vishnu were confronted with this puzzle, they closed their eyes and went into samadhi and just disappeared. Visitor, they did nothing? Maharaj, what could they do? At present you feel you are because of the association with the vital breath, because the vital breath is operating. You know you are. When the association is not there, what can you do? Can you actually do anything? Visitor, what can I do to acquire knowledge? Maharaj, do nothing except hold on to yourself. Just be in that beingness. Then it will tell you how beingness turns into non-beingness. Therefore, I tell you just one thing. Catch hold of that touch of I amness only, the beingness. Dwell on it, and contemplate on that only. Visitor, the best thing to do is to be there in that I am state. To be is meditation. Maharaj, there is no be there, just be. Visitor, is it possible the whole day? Any special meditation? Maharaj, who says for the whole day? Who else can say for the whole day except the beingness? It can capture everything in this contemplation, but it cannot capture itself. Visitor, is karma a problem which we create? Maharaj, the one which has created you has created this karma and the problems of karma, so that you involve yourself in it. Who has created you? What do you mean by karma? It is movement, activity. Visitor, as long as one is subject to karma, one encounters it and it appears as something real. But is it not actually an illusion? Maharaj, I try to keep you trapped as though you were in the womb. If you listen to me carefully and quietly, everything will be sprouting. It is a common mistake, a blunder, that we have become identified with the body form. Visitor, the last mistake? Maharaj, the first and the last. Again remember the words which I have spoken earlier. The seed which has created this body and everything else, so long as it is alive, moist, you will explain these words. Once that seed is gone, you are in eternity only, in your eternal state. Out of a very small seed a very big tree grows into the sky. Similarly this small seed, this beingness I amness touch out of that seed all this manifest world is created. At this point there is no energy left in the words. Therefore, you cannot further express it verbally. Visitor, my ego, my body, the other bodies of the egos here in this room. What they are hearing are all concepts, movements in this beingness. Is this correct? Maharaj, yes. If you want to understand more clearly, take the example of a dream. Your dream. Since I am touching on the highest aspects of knowledge, I am not in a position to reply to any gross questions. If somebody talks, or asks questions, I am not going to challenge him, because to him, from his standpoint and from his level, those are correct questions. Right now, if I have to be interested in a state at all, it is that state 8 days prior to conception, the Parabrahman state. Yesterday the word ego was used, as also today. On what level is this ego attached, and when? Everything is most sacred and most unsacred. The question of sacred and unsacred is there so long as that beingness is there. If the beingness is not, where is the question of sacredness or non-sacredness? You meet some persons and call them very knowledgeable. They will tell you that in the next birth you will be a great king and in the birth after that a still greater king. When such advice is given, the listener is very happy, very contented. Self-love is the underlying illusion. But nobody wants to admit that. Nobody wants to give up his beingness, his I am knowledge. Suppose the following question is directed to an intelligent person. Prior to conception, how were you? This person would reply as follows. I was in a dormant condition in the essences of my parents. That would be how a smart person would reply. It is, however, based on the conventional outlook, and if you trace it further to the parents, etc., you will have an infinite regression on your hands. Therefore, this principle, which has no form but is only the knowledge in a dormant condition, if you trace it to its source it goes back to eternity. That is why the principle is eternal. Now I will give you 2 clues for further investigation. One is to establish yourself in that state prior to conception, and the other is that you wrap yourself up in the traditional concept of the parents. In the latter case, you will fail to get a good grip on the true nature of yourself. The conventional knowledge is not destroyed, but there is no need for it, because basically it is unreal, it is untruth. Whatever an ignorant child or an accomplished sage says, both are correct. I can give you another concept. Who is the perfect principle or the personality that existed prior to the birth of anybody? Here again is a similarity between a child in the cradle and a perfect jnani. When the child tastes food, he does not know whether it is urine or fecal material, food or milk, all these things having the same taste for him. How does the child know himself in that state? Only B knows. Now what do you want to say about the child in the jnani? Visitor, I believe it is important to become a child, to drop all the attachments. Maharaj, where is the question of giving up, renouncing everything? It has come about spontaneously. You do not have to throw out anything. You have to understand only. You are compelled to suffer or experience only because of the appearance of the beingness. Did you go and catch hold of the beingness? It has come about spontaneously. Is the child catching hold of something? Has he caught any concepts, ideas or an ego? A jnani, having understood this state of beingness and all its play, has transcended it and abides in the state prior to conception. He dwells ever in that perfect state, whether the beingness appears or disappears. During your life you have accomplished so many things. You had so many identities, and all these identities and that understanding have left you. Finally, with what identity will you die? If you have understood what you really are, is there any necessity for spiritual pursuits? Visitor, in reality, no. I ask myself why I am here. What is the reason? I know only too well there is ignorance in me. I think the reason I came here is to get help to destroy that ignorance. Maharaj, your ignorance is gone. Now, describe. What do you mean by ignorance? Visitor, I do not perceive it clearly enough, although I see many things. Sometimes I have problems. I think it is because of my ignorance. Maharaj, the waking state, sleep, beingness, all this experience combined, is ignorance only. That ignorance termed as birth means these three. Once you know this, you can do anything. You are free. When you know the false as false, then you do not have to worship at all. Any idea of doership that things happen because you do something also goes away. Prior to the appearance of this beingness, you were purely Parabrahman, the Absolute. The jnani does not give importance to this waking, sleeping and beingness. Just as you are not afraid of a serpent made out of rubber, so in a similar way the jnani has no interest in this waking state and beingness. Visitor, is it all the same? Maharaj, will you make use of this knowledge? To see and affirm it as false, need you make any effort? Visitor, you can see anything without effort. Maharaj, once you know the ignorance, then there is no effort, because you have dismissed it as ignorance and there is no registration of it for future reference. What are you suffering or experiencing? The name of this body form and its associations and that beingness. If you ponder over it, you will have the instant solution. Visitor, you have talked about the state of conception. Also that we are in the eternal Parabrahman state. But what is karma? Is it a variant of that eternal state? Maharaj, there is no karma in the state of Parabrahman. Where is the question of karma? Visitor, but you were talking about conception, body-mind. Maharaj, who has entered the body-mind form? Visitor, I, we. Maharaj, now the space has entered in this room. The space is there. Why and how has the space entered this room? Visitor, at first there was no space, no time. Maharaj, the space is outside. The space is here also. There is no distinction between outside and inside space. It is all space only. So where is the question of coming and going? The 8th of January, 1980. Chapter 2. The Emergence of Beingness. Visitor, I feel that Christianity leads from body-mind to consciousness but does not go beyond it. Maharaj, regarding Christ, Krishna or any other prophet, please understand one point clearly. When they became embodied, the raw material and equipment which went into the process were the 5 elements only. Further, the beingness which emerged out of those embodied forms was an outcome of the interactions of these 5 elements. It expressed itself through the 3 gunas and lasted only so long as the 5 elemental food essence was available. And when the beingness disappeared, these saviors did not know their existence nor their performance in their embodied state. When and how does one first have the experience of the world? This experience becomes possible only after the emergence of the beingness out of the 5 elemental food essence body. Now this beingness is something like a telescope. An observer views the sun, moon, stars etc. through the telescope, but the observer is neither the telescope nor its field of observation. Similarly, witnessing of the 5 elemental manifest world and cosmos happens to the Absolute, that is, to the unborn eternal principle called the Parabrahman. But the Absolute, the witness, is not the beingness, the medium of witnessing, and is also not the manifest universe witnessed. Now a question. 10 days prior to your conception, what were you doing? Visitor, only observing. Maharaj, this reply is incorrect. From what standpoint do you talk? I want to nail you down to the point of the telescope. I bring you down to the beingness, but you digress. About which telescope did I talk to you? Right now. Which is that telescope? It is made up of something. It has emerged out of something. Instead of concentrating on this point, you are babbling about this and that. And consider yourself knowledgeable. Is it not a telescope, through which you experience and observe the world? But you, the Absolute, are not the telescope, are you? Better stay put here at this point, in the beingness. But you jump here and there, leaving your standpoint. Then how will you get peace? Visitor, that is the whole name and game of life. Maharaj, with your present attitude, no amount of knowledge will bring you peace. The beingness is given innumerable names and titles. It took 9 months to create this telescope, this beingness out of the 5 elements. Do you ever ponder over this? With that telescope, all this is experienced and seen, but the observer is not the telescope. Visitor, in Lord Krishna's statement, there was never a time when I was not. Maharaj, through the telescope, that is the beingness, which is the expression of the observer only. He witnesses the manifest world. But do you think that the observer has also disappeared when the telescope and field of observation are gone? To say that an object exists, there should be 2 conditions. One is the object, and the other is the observer of the object. Who says the object is? The primary quality of the beingness is the sense of elemness. Later, there arises a multiplicity of qualities. But the observer, the Absolute, is totally free from any qualities. Therefore, it is called niguna, which means non-qualitative, attributeless etc. Visitor, you agreed that Krishna could not make any statement when he was not in the body form, because there was no one to make it. Maharaj, certainly, because Krishna, in the Absolute state, has no instrument with which to make a statement. And to whom? Once you realize that all these goings on are the products and play of the 5 elements, in the realm of the beingness, you remain unaffected by it and apart from it. My attention is only on the medium by which I know I am, and by which I experience the world. I pay no attention to the siddhi powers and anything that appears. The only relevant question is, how did this medium happen to be? Visitors come here with acquired knowledge and they expect me to comment on it. How can I? They are already clogged up with that knowledge. So let them fend for themselves. A dead man does not interfere with the affairs of a live one. Similarly, The one who has understood and realized the beingness is not interested in the activities and happenings within the domain of beingness. Here we are discussing knowledge that transcends the beingness. But, in the world, who is really interested in such profound knowledge? It is a great privilege that you are inclined to listen to such talks. Many people would not care for the talks, in spite of the opportunities. Visitor. There is a story of a Zen master. When a disciple visited him, the master shouted, "Why have you come? Are you not dead yet?" Also Ramana Maharshi had said that the mind should be totally killed. Maharaj, throw out all your talking, concepts and words. After all, what is the mind? It is just the noise that goes on inside. With waking begins the chattering, and the talk goes on endlessly thereafter. This is your mind, and you run after it. Your breath itself is the talk. If the breath stops, there can be no talk. Visitor, as I reflect on the matter, I find that love and truth are the same, and I also understand that realization of love is quite beyond the mind. Maharaj, all this talk is at the mind level. But I do not talk from the standpoint of the individual, but from the level of total manifestation. An individual understands himself through certain concepts and accordingly undergoes pleasure and pain. But in actuality this is not so. The mind, which interprets happiness and unhappiness, is meant for conducting affairs in the world. Visitor, the rituals of worship such as waving of lights, that is, arati and singing of bhajans are necessary to keep alive our fervor for God and to prevent drabness. Maharaj, what is the meaning arati? You understand it? Visitor, special love. Maharaj, in the Marathi language arati means special need. This special need is the love that every animal has for itself. It is that love to be that prompts each animal to carry on activities in the world. It is the inborn nature of all the species. Because of the identification of each species with its own kind, the idea of otherness springs up, and it is this otherness which is the root cause of pleasure and pain. Love to be is the self-love. Who does not love himself? This very love is called Atma Prem or self-love. Because a human being considers himself an individual, he suffers pain and pleasure. Only in the state of consciousness there is no such question of happiness or unhappiness. These are experienced only at the body-mind level. I have transcended the state of body-mind, that is, the individual state, and am talking to you from the dynamic manifest consciousness. The very concept that good or bad is going to happen is completely wiped out for me. Also, I do not have any concepts regarding birth and death. My physical condition is so weak, any other person in such a state would not even be able to get up. Total loss of pride in individuality is my nirvana. That is, the state of non-identity. You carry out all your worldly and spiritual activities with an identity. So long as your individuality is not lost, you will be bothered by pleasure and pain, past and future, birth and death, etc. Have you ever thought along these lines? Who asks you this question? I, the formless, the dynamic, manifest consciousness, am asking you. Why do you suffer pain? You have compressed yourself into a form and an identity, hence the suffering. You pursue spirituality from the same limited and conditioned standpoint, and hence you cannot secure any foothold in these pursuits. In whatever subject you are absorbed, you deal with it from the standpoint of a personalized entity, and not as dynamic manifest consciousness. The knowledge that you are is manifest and all-pervading. It is purer and subtler than this light, and therefore it cognizes light. Since you hold on to the individualistic memory, you are unable to digest this knowledge, and so you have no peace. There are any number of hatha yogins, as well as persons who recite holy names, doing japa, and those who practice austerities, tapa, Ostensibly, many of them are on the spiritual path, but they rest content with the acquisition of siddhi powers for indulging in miracles. They cannot make progress towards real spiritual knowledge, and they pride themselves on their particular systems, the powers acquired and their individualities. This is not spiritual knowledge at all. A person in service should either be satisfied with his meager salary or quit his job. Similarly, a jnani should be satisfied with the three states of waking, deep sleep and knowingness, or quit them. I as a jnani am telling you my story. What is the use of this alternation of deep sleep and waking to me? I do not want it. This perceptible universe is limitless and infinite. By preserving it, what shall I gain? Since a realized sage abides in perfection, he has no need at all to gain anything. However, a seeker will obtain millionfold benefits by merely remembering and dwelling upon the life of the sage. So great is its potential, an ordinary person cannot even get a glimpse or inkling of the absolute state of a jnani. He has to be satisfied with the behavior and physical expression of the jnani, evidenced as an outcome of his beingness. Such a sage, however, is neither the bodily expression nor the beingness. For example, a military officer wears a uniform with appurtenances which denote his rank. All this makes up the officer, but the uniform and the appurtenances are not the officer. Thus your body, which is a food packet, is not you, but the indwelling principle of your-ness in the body is that you in essence. You are not able to give up your identity with the body. This is the great Maya, the illusion. Therefore, you do not imbibe what I say. Sri Nisargadatta's Discourses on the Eternal. Visitor, how does a jnani know that he is realized? Maharaj, when he recognizes his knowingness, which is the sense of I am, right here and now. You are in the realized state, but you try to judge it through desires and mind concepts, hence your inability to apperceive it and abide in it. In the jnani state, there is no need for anything, not even to know oneself. You are attached to the body senses. Therefore, even though you may attain an age of 100 years, you still would crave for more years. Visitor, sir, do you not feel sorry and concerned for us ignorant seekers who visit you? Maharaj, why should I? I am the very sun of knowledge and look upon everybody as such. Visitor, what is the significance of astrology, stars, good luck and bad luck? Maharaj, everything is important at the appropriate place. The one who has not recognized his true identity will naturally be after the significance of astrology, stars, luck, and so on. But for the one stabilized in the self, nothing is important and significant. Such a one is not concerned with anything. Visitor, the absolute state is said to be eternal. How is it that out of such a state of eternity, an ephemeral and temporary state like beingness should arise? Maharaj, for the appearance of such a temporary state there must be a cause. For example, there are two intimate friends, who are in harmony with each other, but suddenly they start to quarrel. There must be some cause for this, some friction, some misunderstanding. Similarly, there must have been some cause to give rise to the five elements and the manifest universe out of the absolute state. This primary cause is beyond explanation. Just as the friends were separated by their differences and friction, the primary elements space, air, fire, water and earth were formed out of the highest, as a result of friction and interaction. As the process continued, a variety of forms were created leading to the vegetable and animal kingdoms. In the vegetable kingdom, termed Vanaspati, we find shrubs, plants, trees etc. which grow in one place and do not move about. The next stage of evolution is termed Vachaspati, the animal kingdom, which abounds in germs, worms, animals and human beings. These species have the privilege of movement and communication. Human beings, though biologically animals, are a superior species and are termed Brihaspati because of the highly evolved indwelling principle, which is consciousness. A human being is able to acquire wisdom intuitively and transcend itself into the highest. During the process is consciousness, initially conditioned to the body-mind, developed into the universal consciousness, amply justifying the title Brihaspati. This means Lord of the immense magnitude, connoting the all-pervading principle. Ultimately, the universal consciousness subsides into the absolute. Visitor, is there any physical pain when the vital breath leaves the body? Maharaj, one who is involved with concepts suffers at the time of death. The intensity of suffering is in accordance with the meaning of concepts held onto. One who is devoted to God and free from concepts dies happily and peacefully as though going into a slumber. Do you suffer when you fall into sleep? The poet sage Tukaram mentioned in one of his poems that vegetation is our kith and kin, and it is also our ancestor. But how could it be otherwise when vegetable essence is an absolute necessity for the creation of the animal kingdom, the Vachaspati family, and also the Brihaspati family of the human species? The gods in the heaven have to take a human form to manifest on the earth, and their bodies have to be sustained and nourished on the vegetable essence. To reach the godly state, one must have a human body and consciousness. To abide in the highest state you have to do nothing else but listen to these talks carefully, and then everything will happen correctly, conducive to your spiritual progress. Now I have told you about the beingness, which is the outcome of the 5 elemental play and the result of the food essence body. But you as the absolute are not the body, and not even the indwelling beingness. Then why should you worry about its departure? Visitor, since we are born, we are going to die. Maharaj, a jnani is not born and he does not die. But when the body of a jnani drops off, people around him may weep in sorrow, because they identify with their bodies. They therefore consider a jnani to be an embodied person, which, however, he is not. Visitor, how is it that a jnani, abiding in the non-knowing state, is able to communicate with us? Maharaj, a jnani is so called because he is in possession of jnana, the beingness which is sustained by a body. While in possession of jnana, a jnani is in the non-knowing, absolute state. The beingness and the body are the media of communication for a jnani, but he is not the language expressed for communication. You too could be in the jnani state provided you recede and abide in a state prior to emanation of words in you. Such a state is revealed at the borderline of deep sleep in the waking state, which is the very beginning of emergence of the consciousness. This state is known as the Parabhakti or Paravani state, which is the source of words or language. From this source, which is the first stage, until it finally explodes out of the mouth for communication, the language has to pass through 3 more stages, that is, 4 stages in all. The second is Pashayanti, the incipient stage, where the intangible formation of language begins. The third stage is Madhyama or the middle stage, in which the tangible formation of language takes place in the zone of the mind. The fourth and last stage is Vaikhari, when the breath causes the language to explode from the mouth into vocal expression. Paravani is the subtlest form of language. This term has a deeper connotation. Para means the other, indicating separateness from the absolute state, but the closest to it. A jnani or Lord Krishna says, I am not the Paravani, because they abide in the highest. When I talk about Krishna, do not take him to be a personality. He is the absolute. One feels one has understood when some concept, title or name like Krishna is given, but that is not the way. One has to be Krishna to understand him truly. Paravani is not the language of the absolute, as it is still an outcome of the beingness. After passing through various stages of development, it finally expresses vocally a concept, which on our acceptance possesses us. In the process we identify totally with the concept and lose our true identity. Visitor, once in my meditation, I stabilized in the Paravani state, prior to mind, and saw visions of the past and future. Maharaj, in the Paravani state one gets siddhi powers and can read the past and future. It also leads to the awakening of the Kundalini energy. The 9th of January, 1980. Chapter 3. Time is the child of a barren woman. Visitor, what is the difference between physical suffering and psychological suffering? Maharaj, when there is disorder in the body, suffering is physical. But when there is disturbance due to thoughts and concepts, the suffering is psychological. Have you any idea when all this began? Visitor, I do not know. Maharaj, it is spontaneous and it is inside. But how and when was registration made of the first day of life? Visitor, from death. Birth took place. Prior to that there was no consciousness. Maharaj, to what was this title of birth given? Just look into that. What is really born? Visitor, a concept is born. Maharaj, even to say that a concept is born, is not the full truth. What did actually happen? Visitor, time and space appeared. Maharaj, you will have to do plenty of dhyana yoga to come up with a correct reply. There are any number of Upanishads and yogas like Hatha Yoga, Patanjali Yoga, and others. But I know only Atma Yoga, which is self-knowledge and nothing else. Out of a common heap of wheat, many types of edibles are prepared, using different methods. In the same way, there are many systems of spirituality. I am not interested in nibbling at the various delicacies, methods and techniques, but only in the main course, which is the primordial source of all existence. How and why did the state of my beingness, my existence, and the entire manifestation arise, and out of what? In that original source, there is no feeling of my presence. To that ultimate source, how did the state of existence resulting in differentiation, duality happen? The Upanishads and various systems of yoga are conceptual fantasies. I did not go into all these at all. I inquired only about my non-beingness and beingness, and how and why they did come about. Visitor, that I am born is itself. Maharaj, but this is a concept which you have accepted. It is a hearsay. Visitor, every moment we are born. Maharaj, yes, every moment births take place. But what is that material which is born? Visitor, whatever that may be, Maharaj. On the non-beingness, beingness has appeared, and in the beingness, thousands of births and live forms are created within a moment. Visitor, but the background of all this is nothingness only. Maharaj, there should also be a knower of this nothingness, and this knower is nothingness. 2. In the non-beingness, how could that be expressed, and who would? In that state, there is no subject and no object, and it is called nirvishaya. But in the beingness state, both subjects and objects are there, hence it is called savishaya. Have you understood that Patanjali Yoga deals with duality? Have you studied the yoga? Does it deal with yoking or unyoking? Visitor, I have read a little. The yoga deals with duality. Maharaj, out of what did Patanjali create duality? When he established duality, what did he divide? Whatever he divided, was it not in the realm of beingness, in the sphere of subject-object? Visitor, the moment one tries to divide something, it becomes objective. Maharaj, but the ultimate principle is prior to the sphere of subject-object. I would like to know how you divide that state, on the state of non-beingness. the beingness appear together with manifestation, creating a feeling as if I am. Who that is not important. Only I am is important. We talked about duality. Did it begin with the appearance of beingness over non-beingness, or has it developed later? It is simple. When the beingness, that is, the I amness, is felt, it is obvious that quality has begun. Later, the beingness manifests as multiplicity, functioning as it does through innumerable forms. The initial humming of the beingness as I am is the duality. But who accepts the duality? The non-beingness accepts duality with the beingness. The absolute non-being state, by assuming the being state, becomes dual in manifestation. Words create duality between us. Two persons are sitting quietly and so there is no quarrel. But the moment they start talking, duality begins. When the non-being state expresses objectivity through the being state, the latter is called Maya, the female aspect, while the non-being state is considered the male aspect. Therefore, the functioning of the manifest universe is called the play of Prakriti and Purusha, that is, the female and male aspects. Visitor, I was trying to follow a path through which this beingness could experience the non-beingness, which amounts to the manifest experiencing the unmanifest. Right from the start we must understand its impossibility. Maharaj, I have been telling you the same thing. You should do plenty of deep meditation. The beingness should totally merge in the non-being state. Every day I get rid of my stress and strain when going into deep sleep. In this way, I forget myself, undergoing oblivion and relaxation. Thus, the beingness should be lost in the non-beingness. When the dhyana yoga is done correctly, the beingness dissolves gradually into non-beingness. In the intermediate state between deep sleep and waking, a dream vista presents itself. Similarly, in deep meditation, all the necessary wisdom is revealed to you. After understanding all this and realizing that the manifest world is unreal, do you still consider yourself a personality? The beingness state is the manifest state. It is not individualistic. It is made up of the 5 elements. 3 the world as objects, that is, the manifest gunas, and Prakriti Purusha the female and male principle. The beingness later merges into non-beingness. That is why I say my process is Atma Yoga, which means abidance in the self. When the non-being state became the being state, the world, along with so many things, came into existence. As per my guru's directive, I became one with the beingness. Beingness means having the vision that one is the entire dynamic universe. When one transcends individuality, one is the manifest beingness only. In this process the unmanifest reveals itself. Visitor, this is what Maharaj calls meditation. That is, to remain in the state of beingness. Maharaj, there is no creator and nobody created me. Visitor, the creator is already the manifest. First we need the sense of being before we become the creator. Maharaj, the creation takes place through his mind and concepts. Through the humming in his mind, his world is created. Even if you are alone, your mental blabbering and chattering go on. Visitor, also, the mind is created. Maharaj, yes. But when the non-being turns into being, then only the mind appears and functions. Only a very rare person, 1 in a million, will take the correct delivery of my talks. Visitor, once the delivery is taken, there is no person Maharaj. There is no question of yours or mine in the ocean of my manifestation. Millions like you are crawling around, like waves and ripples. Visitor, with the exception of a guru, all others are ripples. Maharaj, but what is a guru? Is he a material sustained on a piece of bread? Visitor, it is another word for the indescribable. My guru told me that first I as an individual should accept a guru, and that the guru would lead me initially to the manifest and then to the unmanifest. Maharaj. But the guru is the manifest state. If you accept individuality, you will not make progress. You must identify with the manifest totality from the first moment of daybreak. The light of complete clarity is flooding all round. In this way you identify with the manifest as a whole. You are all pervading. On the other hand, if you hold on to an individual entity, you cannot progress. Since death is inevitable, why should I not abide by the directive of my guru? By following him implicitly, effortlessly and spontaneously, the manifest becomes the unmanifest. Beingness merges in the non-beingness. Unmanifest means total quietude and rest. Then there is no birth and death, no coming and going. Worldly activities are not possible without the humming of beingness. Individuality and manifestation are the outcome of the non-being state turning into beingness. Like the waking of a person from deep slumber, a person in deep sleep and the person fully awake are one and the same. The one who sleeps is also the one who wakes up. Visitor. The waking state is another word for the world Maharaj. Waking means total world manifestation. Visitor. When he is awakened, he always goes back to dualism. Maharaj. Because I talk to you, you continue to talk to me. If you Sri Nisargadatta's Discourses on the Eternal, 27, know any earnest person, bring him also here. Visitor. Very rarely I tell somebody to come here. Once or twice, I have done so. Maharaj. I like people who are eager to understand. I throw out anybody who likes only to argue for the sake of arguing. I ever abide in the unmanifest. But everything happens due to the power of Yogamaya, the beingness, which is also the manifest state. A great Marathi poet refers to the unmanifest state in his poems, and brings out the following. Just think of a barren woman, untouched by anyone, who conceives and delivers a child. In the same manner, the Yogamaya has delivered the manifest world, that is, the beingness, which is the outcome of the food essence body, has projected this manifestation, and it is the image of my guru. The unmanifest and the manifest, the Yogamaya, can never be together. Visitor. A person translated the book I Am That into a foreign language, and he wants to give it the title of Tattvamasi. Maharaj. I do not like that. Either keep the title I Am That or none at all. Visitor. But Mr. Morris Friedman had agreed. Maharaj. I do not agree. And also do not dilute the contents of the book with your understanding. Even though you may consider yourself a jnani, do it the same way Friedman did. The exact and original text should be translated, with no modifications. Visitor. I now realize after meditation that the essence of your teachings is contained in I Am That. Maharaj. If you want to realize the meaning of I Am That, go into deep meditation. But you, the manifest, should merge in you, the unmanifest. That is the ultimate meaning. Whatever experience I get of the world and God, is not due to any favor or obligation of God but is entirely due to me, because of my state. If I were not, I would not have had the experience. I did prevail and do prevail always. Because of my beingness I experience the world. I now see clearly the oneness in the teachings of three seers or Acharyas Shankara, Madhava, and Ramanuja. All the creations emanate from the Mulamaya, the primary illusion and its secret humming. All words, talks and titles refer to those emanations. Similarly, all these images are the chatterings and expressions of somebody. The images are the products of the love talk and coming together of two persons. The state of beingness is termed as God. The godly state is the entire manifestation. It is my state in experiencing. It is duality. But my unmanifest state is non-dual, and in that state there is no experiencing and manifestation. I, the Absolute, am not the state of being. In spite of all the spiritual knowledge, you are not inclined to give up the experiences at the body-mind level. If you do not identify with the body-mind sense, you will transcend into the beingness first, and later, you will transcend even the beingness. However, you want to keep your individuality at the body-mind level as well as experience and be in both the beingness and non-beingness states, which is impossible. I, the Absolute, am the witness of my beingness, which is the total manifestation. This state is being glorified with very high attributes, such as God, Maheshwar, etc., and worshipped by many people. To them, such a talk of mine may smack of mischief. Visitor, if I say I am not that, then there is also I am that. Maharaj, experience does not mean the experiencer. Visitor, the experiencer is experienced. The experiencer is an object, but is taken for a subject. I experience you and I am as an object, but is treated as a subject. Is it an illusion to see an object as subject? Maharaj, if you say you talk, you are a liar. All this talk of yours is intellectual. Only in reply to my talk, do you directly practice what you talk? Visitor, it is practice. I have been looking everywhere for an I. Wherever I go in search of me, I am not there. Maharaj, I is not the word I. It is everything. Visitor, I as an individual am not able to get to that everything. Maharaj, I do not accuse anyone of being a personality. You identify yourself as an individual. Fear of death does not allow you to transcend into beingness. Visitor, only the false wants to continue as the false. Maharaj, I, the Absolute, am not the personal I. The personal I cannot tolerate the impersonal beingness and is afraid of death. The factual, eternal I, the Absolute, has no fear of death. That which you want to sustain, nourish and maintain by 5 elemental stuff, is not you. Since you identify with something unreal, there is the fear of death. You, the Absolute, are not the personal you, but for all the 24 hours, the personal entity you is watched, nourished and protected so that it may continue on and on. In short, you watch, nourish, protect and guard that which you are not in actuality. Visitor, when you meet a lion, you have 2 alternatives. Either you run away or you allow yourself to be eaten by it. Maharaj, there is a third alternative. You threaten the lion since either way it is going to kill you. So why die like a coward out of fear? Attack it bravely and knock out some of its teeth. One who is afraid of time becomes a prey of time. But time itself becomes a prey of that one who is not afraid of it. One who transcends time, the beingness and its attributes, abides in the Absolute. A jnani consumes time continuously, while all others are being devoured by it. A jnani is beyond time, the 5 elements, attributes and emotions. Visitor, we have to be very careful that we do not set up something as real that one intends to consume. Maharaj, you presume to be a jnani but you are filled up with so much stuff. To fear time is like fearing an unborn child. Visitor, I did not state that I consider myself to be a jnani. Maharaj, time is the child of a barren woman. Maharaj is pointing to the visitor and another person. Both of you are eminent personalities known for spirituality and you have come well armed to attack me. But I tell you, you cannot locate me. Why am I not afraid of time? Because even the dissolution of this manifest universe, the Brahman, cannot destroy me. Prior to, during and after the dissolution, I, the Absolute, ever prevail, untouched, untainted and unchanged. While dying, With what identity will you die? If you are certain of your death, why suffer a lowly death? Die nobly and honorably. Before death, be the highest. Be the infinite, the absolute. The 14th of January, 1980. Chapter 4. Nothing ever interferes with the five elemental play. Visitor, what is ego? Why does it think about itself all the time? Maharaj. First you have what is called ahambhava, that is, the I am sense. Later, this sense identifies with the form of a body, when it is called ahamaka, the I am form. This is ego. Visitor, why does it not disappear in people? They feel they are the doers and they want to be loved. Maharaj, it is the natural outcome of the three gunas. While the body is the product of food essence, it is the medium through which all these three gunas function. Ego is the very nature of these gunas. While a man thinks that he is the doer, even though he does no action, in reality all activities are due to the gunas. Only a jnani realizes this and transcends the ego. Ego is never a title or a name, but just a sense of I am prior to words. The waking state, the sleep state and the knowingness I am constitute an ego. In the absence of these three states, what do you think you are? What would be the evidence for your existence? Visitor, could the ego not be due to thoughts? Maharaj, these three states are the natural outcome of the beingness or I amness. One who recognizes beingness transcends all the three gunas, namely sattva consciousness, rajas dynamic quality, and tamas claiming doship. But for the manifestation of consciousness a food body is absolutely necessary. Without such a body, there cannot be consciousness, the three gunas, nor even the three states waking, sleep and knowingness. Visitor, do you refer to consciousness as mental consciousness? Maharaj, where does the mind come in? When we talk about the three states, without waking, deep sleep and knowingness, where is the mind? You do not know you are without consciousness. Visitor, could it be then that thoughts appear in consciousness? Maharaj, pointing to the burning incense stick. Yes, when the incense stick burns, the fragrance will be there. What do you mean by birth? It means birth of the waking state, deep sleep and knowingness. But the material for this birth is the quintessence of the food body. If you have any questions, by all means ask, but who will take care of your questions? If you are not, where can be your questions? Even those relating to your birth and death? Visitor, birth happens only to the body. Maharaj, but when you refer to the body, is it not the quintessence of the food essence? Visitor, what causes the ego to expand sometimes with age, and with the deterioration of the body, as in paranoids? Ego seems to increase with age. Maharaj, but of what is ego the product? Whatever experience you undergo, it is the product of beingness, and beingness is the outcome of food. From food is derived the body form and from the body essence is derived the birth. What else do you want? With the appearance of beingness, the title of birth is given to you. That is, you are accused of having been born. With such replies, your questions and talk lose all significance. Now tell me who is talking. Are you doing the talking or is it the quality of beingness that is talking? Visitor, there never is an I that is talking. Maharaj, you still do not grasp what I say. The seed of world experience is the beingness. Where is the I in all this? The talking is done by the beingness, but it is dependent upon the body essence, which is the product of food. When the food essence in the body loses its quality, beingness becomes weak and death is feared. A visitor mumbles something inaudible. Use any words you like, but express yourself. You have writ 10 books, but what information did you give in them? I am or I am not relates to the beingness. All the words are spoken by the beingness. If the sense I am is not, which means if the beingness is not, who is there to say I am? Visitor, I never had the idea that I was writing a book. Maharaj, what is the use of discussing with you? There is no point in your denying what I said. What are you? And what could you be without the three states? Waking, deep sleep and the knowingness I am. Visitor, therefore I deny that I am doing anything. Maharaj, but there appears to be some assertiveness in your talking. Please do not try to talk merely for the sake of talking. If you would quietly listen, everything will be revealed. When anybody comes here, I know that the person does not have an iota of knowledge. People bring me presents, but this is a disease, and I am not into that. Similarly, in our life, physical and spiritual disciplines and rituals are prescribed, but I am ever out of these conditionings. This is absolutely clear to me. This Chinese carpet, said to be worth more than 4,000 rupees, has been presented to me, but I have no feelings about it at all. Similarly, I am not the least concerned with the so-called birth imposed on me. The birth relates to the three gunas, the three states and the beingness, and I am not all that. I use the carpet, but I am not the carpet. In the same way I use the beingness. Persons visiting this place fall at my feet out of respect, but the respect is shown to the quality of beingness, and I am unapproachable. All this spiritual knowledge pertains to the realm of beingness, and it is bound to go like a guest. The question is, where, when and how will you have the ultimate knowledge? Visitor, who has this ultimate knowledge? Maharaj, nobody has the self-knowledge. The knowledge I am is not the absolute state. The beingness, comprising the three gunas, is given the godly titles of Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh. Brahma is the creator, Vishnu is the preserver, and Mahesh is the destroyer, and the combination of these three gods is worshipped and praised by us when singing bhajans. But all these gods subside and go to rest in a self-realized sage, termed as jnani. The state of a jnani transcends the sense of time and even the sublime emotions. That highest state is given the title of Parabrahman, Paramatman, etc. After reading spiritual books, people argue over their interpretation. But what is the point of such quarrels? All these talks go on in the realm of beingness, and you, the ultimate, are not the beingness. Visitor, yesterday, Maharaj asked me to meditate on when the beingness appeared. Questions could also be asked about the state after the appearance of beingness, such as why, when, how, and so forth. Maharaj, yes, these questions can only be asked after the beingness appears, and the beingness will remain so long as the food essence is available. Why and when does a person die? When the food essence is not supplied, function of the person's body ceases and the indwelling beingness disappears. This is called death. But who did die? Visitor, one object died. Maharaj, but who says this? Can it be the one who died? If not, who says it? Visitor, you can see it from day to day, that this beingness appears and disappears. Something else must be there. Maharaj, the ultimate seer cannot see by seeing, but without seeing, the seer sees. But that ultimate seer does not belong to the realm of the beingness. Visitor, it appears to me that seeing itself is seen. Maharaj, but what is the cause of this? It is the beingness only, the three-aspected sattva guna. If you do not understand, please keep quiet. The absolute cannot be understood. Whatever you understand, you are not that. In non-understanding, you understand yourself. Visitor, then how can the three gunas be responsible for the witnessing? Maharaj, addressing a new visitor, with a beard. You have grown and maintained a beard like a Mahatma. Come on, ask questions. Visitor, You talked about a jnani. Does he think? Can he be without feelings? Maharaj, for the purpose of communicating, he has to employ such words as the jnani is thinking or the jnani is talking, etc. Visitor, but actually nothing of the sort is there. It is reassuring that he talks about thinking and that he is feeling. Maharaj, the jnani is beyond the attributes of the three gunas and is beyond emotions. How can a jnani be involved in thinking and emotions? Visitor, I see a difference between thinking and emotions. By feelings, I mean those which are like the stream of a river, they come and go. Maharaj, yes, this appearance and disappearance of the feelings and emotions is the very nature of the three gunas, and not yours. Visitor, I understand this is a natural outflow of the gunas and nothing of the absolute. Maharaj, you are convinced about nothingness. But of whom? Are you convinced that a jnani is nothing or the knowledge I am is nothing? The knowledge I am is nothing. That knowledge is like a guest, it comes and goes. You have come here. You are very clever. Now what did happen? All the knowledge, which you had collected elsewhere and brought here, is rendered useless and redundant. Pointing to two visitors, the knowledge of these two will become useless. At present, they are the very ocean of knowledge. But when their three gunas and beingness disappear, all their knowledge also disappears. So long as beingness is there, all the worldly activities will go on. But you now realize that you are neither the activities and the beingness nor the beingness. You, as the absolute, are none of these. Visitor, to meditate on that which comes after the beingness. The only way I see it, is to watch what remains, when everything is gone. When time, space and everything disappear, what remains? Maharaj, when the manifest world of the three gunas is gone, whatever remains indicates what you were 100 years ago and prior to your birth. In that state, you were bereft of the three states of waking, deep sleep and knowingness. You should abide in that state during meditation. Visitor, how does one avoid going into samadhi in this meditation? Maharaj, going into samadhi or coming out of samadhi are not your qualities. You are beyond qualities. Visitor, my question is how to avoid it. Maharaj, going into, and coming out of, a samadhi are qualities like all other qualities of the three gunas. And do not try to avoid samadhi. It is the natural play of the three gunas. Samadhi will be there but you, the absolute, are not in the samadhi. Visitor, I used to have these tendencies. So my guru forbade me meditation and observation. But could you tell me, how and where you were introduced to the knowledge you are? Did your guru tell you that? Where and how did the union of the beingness and the absolute take place? Visitor, the question never did arise. Maharaj, one ignorant person can tell another ignorant person anything. But that one who recognizes what the ignorance is, should be considered as the knower, the jnani. Many people presume themselves to be jnanis, but they are ignorant only. One person says I am knowledgeable, another says I know, but both are ignorant. The waking state is followed by deep sleep, and deep sleep is followed by the waking state, and so on goes the cycle. This cycle constitutes the beingness. You must be very alert, as at a time when someone aims a rifle at you and you are trying to avoid the bullet, it is not child's play to see through the ignorance. Visitor, I will try. Maharaj, are you going to ask questions from without the three states or within the three states? Visitor, by using the three states. Maharaj, then, what's the use? Earlier you wanted to stay here for 3 weeks. Do you still want to stay for that period? Is it necessary? Visitor, earlier Maharaj asked me a question and I answered. But once my purpose is achieved I may go. Maharaj, Is there anything left that you have not accomplished? And what do you mean by purpose? Visitor, may I know how to deal with the purpose completely and consciously? Maharaj, the process of attaining the purpose is within the three gunas, whereas the purpose itself is beyond the three gunas. Visitor, the process of attaining the purpose then disappears? Maharaj, the meditator involved in that process is not the real one, but the target is the real. Visitor, pointing to a book, this is the final obstacle. Second visitor, what is the value of a book? Maharaj, a book is valuable to its reader provided he is more ignorant than its author. The author has very beautifully written ignorance in his book, and we are so engrossed in it that we go to sleep. Visitor, but after reading that book men have come to you. Maharaj, why have they come? Visitor, it was to get direction for their meditation. Maharaj, with the transcendence of the knowledge I am, the absolute prevails. The state is called Patabrahman, while the knowledge I am is termed Brahman. This knowledge I am or the beingness is illusion only. Therefore, when Brahman is transcended only the Parabrahman is, in which there is not even a trace of the knowledge I am. When those three states waking, deep sleep and knowingness were not there, could there be beingness? Why, in that state did your beingness arise? Would there be any necessity for beingness in the Parabrahman state? In the absence of beingness, did you see the sun, the moon and the stars in the firmament? In that state, was there any benefit from the sun, the moon and the stars? The beingness is a superimposition, a cloak of illusion over the absolute. In other words, the beingness, which is the very first and primary concept I am, is itself the conceptual illusion. This manifest world is the dynamic play of the five elements, in that there is no scope for an individual. A diamond radiates light all around. It is radiance itself. In deeper meditation, you will realize that, like the brilliance emanating from a diamond in all directions, the manifest world emanates out of you. It is your effulgence only. Visitor, like an old-fashioned cafe having mirrors on the walls, which reflect your manifold images. The whole universe manifests in that principle, which is termed beingness or birth. This beingness illumines all that exists, which means the entire universe manifests as the body of the beingness. On a television screen, you see different forms, images and landscapes, but they are all the expression or play of the tube's electron beams only. Similarly, the entire manifest world of your purview is the product of your beingness. When you go into deep quietude, after thorough comprehension of these talks, you will observe that in the knowledge you are innumerable universes and cosmoses latently exist. Maharaj pointing to the foreigners. These are seekers of the true knowledge, while the local people follow devotion to a god, so that their mundane needs are provided. I have therefore the highest regard for the foreigners, because whatever they undertake they see it through to the very end. I admire their perseverance. Visitor, to come here, many of us have left all the profound acharyas completely. Maharaj, such spiritual personages do not belong to any country. They are the product of the five elemental play. People take birth and die in the play of the consciousness. In the next 100 years all these people will die and a fresh crop of visitors will arrive in the world, in a continuous process. This too is the play of the five elements. Many acharyas have come and gone, but none could bring about even a little change in the process of creation, preservation and destruction, the play of the five elements. Not only acharyas, even great incarnations like Rama, Krishna and others, could not do it. The same can be said of the rishis, sages, and Siddha Purushes, the souls highly evolved spiritually. Inexorably the great drama goes on, although it is governed by such an odious principle as one species preys upon another species. There are organizations to prevent cruelty to animals, but they only prolong the life and sufferings of animals. Could they bring to a stop animal creation? As a result of this creation, both the human beings and animals suffer in this world. Is there any progress in family planning either in human beings or in animals in totality? What authority does one have about oneself? People have no authority whatsoever to interfere in this grand drama of the five elements, to effect any change, because their primary nature ever remains the same. The 15th of January, 1980, Chapter 5. Beyond the Upanishads, Maharaj, I am not concerned with the miracles happening outside, but only with those happening within me. In my original non-knowing state I did not know the sense of my being, but all of a sudden the beingness was felt spontaneously. This is the first miracle. Then in a flash I observed this enormous manifest world and also my body. Later, I conceived that the entire universe has manifested in the speck of my beingness only. Why not pay attention to these miracles? A lot of miracles happen, each greater than the other. But what about these ones? I repeat. First, there was no message I am and also there was no world. Instantly, the message I am in this magnificent world materialized out of nothingness. How amazing! This message I am is nothing other than the advertisement of the eternal truth. Similarly, the names, titles and forms of sages, seers and mahatmas are merely announcements of the same principles. For example, when you prepare a number of dishes out of wheat, various names are given to them. But it is the wheat that is the basis for all the dishes. To stabilize me in this eternal principle, my guru initiated me by pronouncing the sacred words Tattvamasi, which means I am that. From that moment onwards, I lost all interest in worldly affairs. These sacred words are called the Mahavakya, which is a profound statement charged with sublime meanings. Visitor, what does I am that mean? Maharaj, the word that in the statement refers to everything that is in the totality. Visitor, can one get an inkling of the eternal state from any experiences obtained through the body and the world? Maharaj, certainly not. It is a non-experimental state. Prior to experiencing, what was my state? Who was there to reply to this? This is to be understood. In that primordial state, I had no information about myself. Now a form, together with the information I am, is impressed on me. You want to be told about this state and you want a name for it. If so, call it by the names Parabrahman or Paramatman. But to whom is the name given? To that me, who did not have a form in the self-information I am. Double quote. You think you are wise and a jnani, and take pride in it. But do you ever think how and why you are in this experimental state? Just ponder on this. A lifeless puny ant was lying on the ground, almost invisible. While I looked at it, it showed signs of life and all of a sudden, a formidable lion emerged out of it. How can I take such a lion as real? On similar reckoning, how can I take the world as real? All this creation and that which is called God are worshipped. But since when? That God emanated from the fluid energy and assumed a form. Though it is honored and revered, it is the product of spit. Is it not as Tahu or from when or where I was? But the moment my guru aroused me with the call, everything was revealed. This beingness of mind, the experimental state, is mean, low and despicable. The tiny ant referred to earlier was nearly dead. It had a fluid form. As a result of emission, out of its wetness and fluid energy sprang the lion. This fluid was nothing but something like spit. Out of the same fluid energy, a body form assumed a shape and it turned out to be a dwelling place for the beingness. That is the state of love to be. For that matter, whatever is created has the wetness of self-love, the love to be. as its basis. The very wetness is also capable of manifesting itself into the entire movable and immovable world. In the body dwells the fluid energy, and in the fluid energy dwells a latent body. This fluid energy is ethereal, subtle and most potent. If you have any questions on this topic, please ask. Visitor: how can I go beyond the state of witnessing? Maharaj: your question is irrelevant. What did I tell you? Out of the spit, the self-love has taken a form. In the space of self-love manifests the entire universe, which is throbbing and pulsating with the same principle. I have expounded this subject fully and you ask a question not pertinent to it. I have been explaining to you as to what you are, and you have jumped to witnessing. Did you comprehend that this source of beingness is the spit and that it is despicable? Visitor: yes. Maharaj: do you know that your beingness is unreal, unworthy, lowly and a cheat? This beingness which prompts you to think I am like this and I am like that is illusory and fraudulent. Prior to my assuming a body form, I had no information. Visitor: when one is a witness, it does not mean that one is like this or that. Maharaj: at present you are not a witness. The question is, what is your present condition? What are you? You want to show off by saying that you are a witness. How was I in the absence of the message I am, that is, prior to beingness? I provided you with name tags for that state. These titles are Parabrahman, Paramatman, etc. They are only pointers to the state, but not the state itself. In the ultimate, they are redundant, extraneous and bogus. Visitor: beingness is the witness and I know there is something beyond. Therefore, I asked a question: how to go beyond? Maharaj: I am discussing about the beingness and its source, so also about the source of the body in the world. While you are talking about the world and its witnessing from the state of beingness, the subject matter of the talk is that people believe in miracles. What I am saying is that there is no greater miracle than I experiencing the world. The primary miracle is that I experience I am in the world. Prior to this experiencing, I abided in myself, in my eternal absolute state. The titles mentioned earlier refer to this state. Visitor: I have understood, but a little more explanation would be welcome. Maharaj: still more explanations? Then, am I not justified in saying that your head is full of sawdust? Maharaj asks a devotee to explain the matter again to the visitor, and not to digress from the subject. After meeting my guru, I gave up running after various sages and other gurus and directed my attention wholly upon myself. Only if my beingness is there, can the existence of sages and gurus arise. They last and flourish in my beingness, so long as it is there. Without my beingness, that is, without the message I am, my eternal absolute only prevails. Visitor: that is precisely what I wanted to ask when I said beyond the witness. Maharaj: I am precisely telling you about my state. I am not giving you any other information. Probably you want to acquire knowledge for display and become a pseudo-guru. Arising out of the beingness, its play and its subsidence are the three states of my beingness: waking, deep sleep and knowingness. When I talk with reference to me, you should apply it to your own being and fully understand it. Since all I said is identically relevant to you also. Now these immature boys come here for spirituality. What can I say to them? If they insist on obtaining knowledge from me, I shall have to direct them to my sweeper, who can impart elements of knowledge when they do some service here, like sweeping and cleaning. In the hierarchy of our gods, there are some demigods who are to be appeased with the offerings of flesh and wine. Such lower deities received their spiritual powers after serving the higher deities as menial servants. Now suppose one of such deities is angered and wants to wreak vengeance on me. What can she do? At the most, she will crush me under her toes and wipe out this emblem of the three gunas, which is my beingness. But who cares? Because I, the Absolute, ever remain untouched. To the visitor, have you come here to have knowledge or learn how to become a guru? Visitor, I am not crazy, Maharaj. Then why did you refer to witnessing? Visitor, prior to coming here I was led up to the point of witnessing. Maharaj, witnessing what? Visitor, everything that appears and disappears. Maharaj, for the purpose of witnessing, that fluid the beingness must be there. Visitor, yes. Maharaj, then where is the question of witnessing? And witnessing what? I have indicated to you how the incarnations and births continue to emanate out of the spit, the fluid energy. Apart from that, what are you? Visitor, nothing. Maharaj, therefore, how can I judge anyone as good or bad? I reserve my judgment only for the source of all the beingness. My approach is simple and straightforward. Out of the absolute non-being state, the beingness together with the manifest world emerged before me. How did this happen? My guru revealed to me, while I was in deep meditation, how and due to what causes the manifest world of forms was created. Visitor, what was revealed to you in your meditation, and whatever your guru told you, are they very important indeed? Maharaj, no doubt both are very important. But the eternal absolute state of mind prior to the beingness, when the message I am was not, is supremely significant. Who would have witnessed the message I am, if my priormost state of the non-beingness was not? Visitor, who would have created them? Maharaj, the creation is self-effulgent and spontaneous. There is no creator. A magnificent tree sprouts out of a tiny seed. Maharaj asks the visitors to ask questions but none of them does. So he comments, since I have put my axe at the very root of creation, how can any questions arise? In the Marathi language, the word mula denotes the root of a tree, and with a slight modification in pronunciation, it means child. Just as a splendid tree takes root out of a small seed, a full-grown person is latently rooted in a child in his beingness. But I, as the Absolute, am prior to the root, the child in the beingness. You eat different items of food to sustain yourself, which is your childhood principle, the beingness. When it disappears, you will be termed dead. Actually, what are you protecting from death? It is the basic child beingness, the root. With the emergence of the child begins the first day of experiencing. Visitor, is a state prior to beingness experienced consciously by Maharaj? Maharaj, in that state I alone prevail without even the message I am. There are no experiences at all. It is the non-experiential eternal state. Visitor, how will I know that you know it from your direct experience and not from a book? Maharaj, I repeat, I alone do prevail in the state, hence, there is no otherness. For any experience, otherness is necessary. Visitor, but that is true for everybody. Some know it, some do not. Maharaj, why should I bother about others? Who else is there? In that state of aloneness, I only exist. Visitor, how is that state to be cognized? Maharaj, when the state of beingness is totally swallowed, whatever remains is that eternal I. Visitor, because that absolute I state felt alone, it occurred to it I am lonely. Let me be many as referred to in the Chandogya Upanishad. Maharaj, this can occur at the threshold of beingness. But since my ultimate state is beyond the grasp of the Upanishads, I reject them. The Upanishads are the storehouse of knowledge, which however has emanated from the state of ignorance. The raw material used for presenting the teachings is ignorance only. All the three gunas are bound by and charged with emotions, but are not the truth. Because of the creation of this fraudulent world, out of spite, people are veritably ashamed. Therefore, they do not like to expose the offender through which the spit was ejected. Considering this aspect, how can you have ego at all? From where have you emerged and where are you proceeding to? Visitor, from nowhere to nowhere. Maharaj, when such profound discussions are going on, only the fortunate ones will be present. To the visitor who asked questions, here your self-esteem is fully exposed. Do you like that? Visitor, I have nothing to hide. You told me to stand up and fight. Maharaj recites a couplet from a folk song normally sung by dancing girls touring the countryside. The song, with deep meaning, was composed by a famous sage some centuries back. Having had many a lover, I made them dance and they pined for me. But in my guru, I met a perfect match. He made me dance to the tune he played. Oh, my friends, listen. Beware of a perfect guru. Once you meet him, where would you be with your ego sense totally wiped out? Kabir, the great poet sage, says in a verse, I recited the sacred names 1,000,000 times, performed austerities and penances, but I did not realize myself. When I met the perfect master, Niranjan the unblemished, instantly I realized the highest and abided in the state of non-attention secretly. The 16th of January, 1980, Chapter 6, The Nectar of the Lord's Feet. Maharaj, if one obtains and relishes the nectar of the Lord's feet, the Charanamrita, the mind can be conquered. This means that the mind will no longer hold sway over us. Its mastery imposed from childhood will no longer oppress us. This is called Manojaya, victory over the mind. But this is made possible only with His grace. Without grace, we cannot relish the nectar. However, only a true devotee, a bhakta, a god, can obtain the Charanamrita. But who and what is this devotee? It is nothing else but the consciousness, the sense of being, the knowledge that we are, which has appeared unknowingly and spontaneously in us. The consciousness is the Charanamrita, the nectar of the Lord's feet. The entire cosmos in its vibrant, stirring movement is represented by the consciousness, the feet of the Lord, and the whole universe is the body of the consciousness. But what is its relationship with all beings? It dwells in the core of all beings as the knowledge I am, the love to be, the Charanamrita one. In this talk, Maharaj does not go into the origin of this expression, but its meaning becomes clear from what Maharaj stated on another occasion. Why are the feet of the Guru honored? Because they bring you to the Absolute. One who drinks the nectar of the Lord's feet is a true devotee. He abides in the knowledge I am. He is godly. Thus, when one sips continuously this nectar by witnessing the consciousness or the sense of being, one's mind, which assesses and differentiates persons observed as males and females, gradually removes itself from the focus of attention, leaving the consciousness in its innate glory. But how can such a state be attained? Only if one totally accepts the knowledge I am as oneself with full conviction and faith and firmly believes in the dictum I am that by which I know I am. This knowledge I am is the Charanamrita. Why is it called Amrita, the nectar? Because, it is said, by drinking nectar one becomes immortal. Thus, a true devotee, by abiding in the knowledge I am, transcends the experience of death and attains immortality. But so long as the mind remains unconquered, the experience of death is inevitable. Although my talks go on and on with many visitors, my standpoint remains unchanged. Why? Because my standpoint is stabilized at the Charanamrita. It stays put in the consciousness, the source of concepts and language. Out of it emanates the language from its subtlest formation to the grossest vocal expression, as para, pashayanti, madhyama, and vacary. If you could just give up all other spiritual efforts and disciplines and absorb yourself in relishing the Charanamrita, by abidance and the consciousness, the mind will release you from its clutches. At present, you meekly accept whatever the mind dictates as your own. If the mind goes into silence, where and what are you? Once you subside into the consciousness, the factual state of reality shall be revealed to you with the knowledge that will emanate out of you intuitively, like spring water. This will enable you to discern not what is real and unreal, but most importantly, to realize what I am. What am I for myself alone? What is this life? Once these questions are resolved intuitively and the reality emerges, the mind cannot predominate any longer. However, functioning of the mind will go on, but the quality of its functioning will be totally different. One who has attained such a state remains unaffected by any happenings, since the blabberings of the mind can have no effect. And who could be that one? Surely not an individual who is trapped in the mind shell, but that one is the knowledge I am, the consciousness. It is said that we should break off the shackles that attach us to the body and the world. What does that mean? Whatever is seen and perceived is at the bodily or worldly level. An attachment is developed with objects perceived, and then we identify with the body as ourselves and claim the objects as our own. Attachment is the nature of the mind, and it obstinately persists in these attachments. But if you drink the Charanamrita by stabilizing in the consciousness, everything will be resolved and you will be enlightened. You need not go to anybody to clear your doubts. While doing my normal chores and singing bhajans in praise of God and so on, to you I appear to be deeply involved in these activities. But actually I remain apart from myself, bereft of the body and mind sense, and then witnessing of the activities happens to me. I wonder if you have marked this. Many persons are related to me in some way or another. Although seemingly I hobnob with them, I am apart from them. For myself, I have fully realized what I am, and right now it is absolutely clear to me what and how I am. But what these persons think they are, only they know. They presume to have acquired knowledge, to have reached a spiritual status higher than others, and so forth. This is bound to be, because they are still slaves to their mind. In my case, it cannot happen. I have totally imbibed the nectar of the Lord's feet, the consciousness. At present, all communications and functionings happen through the medium of this nectar, the consciousness. And what is this medium? It is the knowledge I am. It is represented by Lord Vishnu, the highest God who reclines blissfully on the coils of the serpent, Shashashayi, and hence is known as Shashashayi Bhagavan. Well, it is nice to have such talks, but to imbibe and realize their essence is very difficult indeed. Why? Because you firmly believe that you are the body and live accordingly, while entertaining fond wishes that you will achieve something good in the world, and later still better. These expectations are primarily based on the misconceived notion that you are the body. This wrong identification, however, dissolves in the nectar of the Lord's feet, when you totally subside in the consciousness and lose your individuality. Dissolution of individuality is not possible without devotion to the Master Guru Bhakti, which in other words is again the consciousness. The Guru Charanamrita, abidance in the consciousness, removes all past and future problems, and stabilizes one in the present here and now. Consciousness is the sense of knowingness I am without words, and it appeared unknowingly and unsolicited. It is the manifest universal life force and, therefore, cannot be individualistic. It extends inside and outside, like the brilliance of a diamond. You see a dream world inside you and a perceptible world outside you, provided the consciousness prevails. From the body level, you may say inside and outside the body, but from the standpoint of consciousness, Where and what is inside and outside? Only in the realm of knowingness I am the consciousness can a world be, and so also an experience. Hold on to this knowingness I am, and the fount of knowledge will well up within you, revealing the mystery of the universe, of your body and psyche, of the play of the five elements, the three gunas and prakriti purush, and of everything else. In the process of this revelation, your individualistic personality confined to the body shall expand into the manifested universe, and it will be realized that you permeate and embrace the entire cosmos as your body only. This is known as the pure super knowledge Shuddha Vijnana. Nevertheless, even in the sublime Shuddha Vijnana state, the mind refuses to believe that it is a non-entity. But as one subsides in the consciousness, one develops a firm conviction that the knowledge you are the sense of your being is the very source of your world. This knowledge alone makes you feel you are and the world is. Actually, this manifest knowledge, having occupied and permeated the cosmos, dwells in you as the knowledge you are. Hold on to this knowledge. Do not try to give it a name or a title. Now coming to a very subtle situation. What is it in you that understands this knowledge you are, or from your Dhat standpoint I am, without a name, title or word? Subside in that innermost center and witness the knowledge I am and just be. This is the bliss of being the Svarupananda. You derive pleasure and happiness through various external aids and processes. Some like to enjoy good food. Some like to see a picture. Some get absorbed in music. And so on. For all these enjoyments some outside factors are essential. But to abide in the bliss of being no external aids are required at all. To understand this, take the example of deep sleep. Once you are in deep sleep, no aids or treatments are called for and you enjoy a quiet happiness. Why? Because in that state identity with a body, if male or female, is totally forgotten. Some visitors ask me, please show us a path that will lead to reality. How can I? All paths lead to unreality. Paths are creations within the scope of knowledge. Therefore, paths and movements cannot transport you into reality, because their function is to enmesh you within the dimension of knowledge, while the reality prevails prior to it. To apprehend this, you must stay put at the source of your creation, at the beginning of the knowledge I am. So long as you do not achieve this, you will be entangled in the chains forged by your mind and get enmeshed in those of others. Therefore, I repeat, you stabilize at the source of your being and then all the chains will snap asunder and you will be liberated. You will transcend time, with the result that you will be beyond the reach of its tentacles and you shall prevail in eternity. And this sublime state can be attained only by drinking ceaselessly the nectar of the Guru's sacred feet, the Guru Charanamrita. It is a state of ecstatic beatitude, the self subsiding blissfully in the self. This ecstasy is beyond words. It is also awareness in total quietude. The quintessence of the talk is clear. Your most important asset is the knowledge that you are prior to emanation of mind. Hold on to this knowledge and meditate. Nothing is superior to this, not even devotion to a guru bhakti or devotion to God Ishvara bhakti. The 25th of January, 1980, Chapter 7. To realize the absolute, even beingness has to be transcended. Maharaj, seen from the earth, the sun rises and sets, but from the standpoint of the sun, it shines continuously and has no knowledge of rising and setting, while the beingness and its manifestation, including the activities therein, are temporary and time-bound. That which is prior to beingness is eternal. You are a student of the Bhagavad Gita. Whatever I say, does it agree with the Gita? Visitor, after listening to your talks I was able to understand clearly the 15th chapter of the Gita, where mention is made of Purushottama. Maharaj, Purushottama is the absolute, the eternal, while the absolute is without any external support. being totally self-supporting. It is itself the support for everything manifest. Visitor, Krishna has said, those alone who understand that I, the Absolute, am beyond the states of being and non-being realize my true nature, and all others are fools. Maharaj, those who are created out of stupid action are also stupid. Visitor, whatever a jnani talks, is spiritual knowledge, and even his behavior reveals knowledge. Maharaj, actually all our behavior is of the sattva guna quality expressed out of the food essence, and it is neither yours nor mine. The sattva guna has three states, viz. Waking, deep sleep and beingness. When knowledge is correctly understood, one is pure Brahman only, though having a body form. It has no mind modification. This is what Krishna said. The body is a product of the food essence. All plants, shrubs, trees, animals etc. are created out of seeds, and a seed, bija, means recreating in the previous form. Also a seed is a product of the sattva guna. Out of a seed sprouts the plant and later a big tree, but the source is the seed only. Also out of the human seed, which is the product of the three gunas, sattvas, rajas and tamas, and the food essence, sprouts the body, beingness and manifestation. This can be realized by a human being only. Having understood this, I have realized pure Brahman though having a body form. Rarely, anybody imbibes this wisdom. Many acquire so-called knowledge, but whatever is acquired is not true knowledge. Visitor, is the beingness, or the knowledge I am, then the ultimate, true knowledge? Editor, reduced to its simplest terms, one might say that the mind undisturbed by thoughts in a state of total peace and purity is the sattva guna. In this mode, the mind is not different from the self. The mental modifications, vrittis, are the perturbations of mind that result from the interplay of tamas and rajas. These cause man to lose sight of the fact that he is the self and need not make any effort to gain it. Ramana Maharshi said much the same thing when he stated, the common man is aware of himself only when modifications arise in the intellect. These are transient, they rise and set. When pure awareness is left over, it is itself the Chit Self of the Supreme. Talks with Sri Ramana Maharshi, 7th edition, 1984, page 587. Maharaj, this true knowledge, the knowledge I am, is also rendered the status of non-knowledge in the final absolute state. When one is established in his final free state, the knowledge I am becomes non-knowledge. When you see a flowering tree you look only at the foliage, but you do not think of its roots and the seed out of which it has sprouted. Unless you understand the seed also, there will be no total understanding. At present you understand yourself as a body, but you do not include in the understanding the source and the seed out of which this body has manifested. A pen point moist with ink writes volume after volume. The pen point is the source of all writings. Similarly, your beingness is the source and beginning of your entire world. The written material is easily observed and read, but its source, the pen point, which is almost dimensionless, is not easily perceived. So also is the seed beingness, which is formless, most elusive. You do not identify with your beingness, but you are quick to identify with your visible body form. You cling to the form as I instead of the beingness. However, for the sustenance of the beingness a body form is essential. Even if Lord Krishna were to decide to incarnate again, he would be able to do so only with the medium of seed beingness, which however will be a product of a food essence body. Not only Krishna, but also Christ and Buddha manifest only through the food essence beingness. But do you know the meaning of Buddha, the Bodhisattva? Visitor, Buddha means the innate nature of all of us, Maharaj. And when you were initiated, What was the form of initiation and what were you initiated into? Visitor: I was taken into the order of Holy Sang, as a monk, who was working for total happiness. Maharaj: do not tell me all this. Diksha, initiation, means just be, alertly be what you are. What advice was given to you at the time of initiation? Visitor: to watch my body-mind. Maharaj: from what standpoint, or identity, did you watch? Visitor: did not watch my body from any standpoint. There was only watching. Maharaj: when you do not know yourself, then who is watching? And how does it happen? Visitor: the object of my witnessing comes up in the observer. Through the object comprising thought, emotion and body, there is a sense of self. I could observe the sense of self. I have seen pretty clearly that there is nothing substantial within this mind-body process. Maharaj: how were you asked to be alert at the time of initiations? Visitor: all the time. Maharaj: but with what identity should you be alert? Visitor: they did not tell me about any identity. They told me to be just alert. Maharaj: to whom did they tell? Should they not indicate what the witness should be like? Visitor: number. Maharaj: this is a lower type of initiation. First recognize the indwelling principle, the knowledge I am or the self-love, which is doing the witnessing. The witnessing just happens to it. When the pain is there, spontaneously I witness the pain that I am experiencing. Visitor: there seems to be a sense of separation between myself and the object of witnessing. So when I witness. Maharaj: but when do you witness? Visitor: when I witness the body-mind, I feel separation from body-mind. Maharaj: to whom does the witnessing happen? Visitor: that I do not know. Maharaj: then what type of spirituality do you practice? Visitor: though I wear a robe, I do not follow any particular avenue of spirituality or order. I just try to be aware of who I am. Maharaj: for all beings it is the same experience. Early morning, immediately after waking, just the feeling I am is felt inside or the beingness happens, and thereafter further witnessing of all else happens. The first witnessing is that of I am. This primary witnessing is a prerequisite for all further witnessing. But to whom is the witnessing occurring? One that ever is, even without waking. To that ever-present substratum the witnessing of the waking state happens. The mystery of world experience is at this point. The esoteric knowledge of seed beingness is also here. Now you have woken up, and witnessing of waking happens. The primary witnessing is of my own presence, my existence. This waking, or the sense of existence, is a temporary state, being one of the trio of the deep sleep, waking and knowingness states which together constitute the beingness. This beingness is like that quality of the moist pen point. The aggregate of these three is the subtle energy represented by the male and female principles, termed Purusha Prakriti. In this beingness, the Sattva Guna is the Visvasutra, Brahma Sutra, Atma Sutra. In that beingness dwells the universal manifestation. This Sattva Guna is the thread around which Brahman and the manifest universe are strung. Visitor: a question I want. Maharaj: what questions could you possibly have on this subject? The very focus of that wet pen point has assumed the multifarious forms. That beingness is known as Sattva Shakti and Prakriti Purusha Shakti. The Sattva Guna which gave rise to the beingness is the product of the essence of the parents who belong to the species of Vachaspati. This very essence assumed form, and the universe is revealed in its inside and outside. Understand clearly the source. It is just like a tiny seed of a banyan tree growing into a magnificent tree and occupying a lot of space. But who is it that occupies the space? It is the power of that small seed. Similarly, understand this quintessential emission of the parents that leads to the touch of I amness, which manifests itself into a universe. Therefore go to that source and understand it fully. Just as the seed carries the latent form of the plant, so the seed of the parents carries the latent form of male or female in the image of the parents. Father and mother are also the expression of the sattva guna, the quintessential principle only. As a result of friction, emission has taken place. This emission, having taken the photo of the parents, grows into a child in the likeness of the parents. Before your birth, where was your beingness dwelling dormantly? Was it not in the quintessence of the parents? Is this not the eternal drama of reproduction of all species through the sattva principle and the energy denoted by Purusha Prakriti? Visitor, the touch of I amness is itself nothing personal. It seems personal only when linked with body and mind. Maharaj, this touch of I amness is the manifest only and is not individualistic. Visitor, you talked about the love state. If I say I love somebody, it really means I amness on this spot recognizes amness on that spot. Maharaj, there is no otherness at all to make love to, only the love to be has sprouted. To sustain the love to be state, you undergo a lot of difficulties and adversities. Just to keep that state pleased and satisfied, you involve yourself in so many activities. Visitor, the suffering is to direct attention to something other than the I love state. But if all this is meant to perpetuate I amness, then is this not a desire? Maharaj, this is not desire. It is the very nature of I amness to be. Beingness wants to be and perpetuate itself. This is its very nature. It is not the individual's nature. Visitor, even when it is linked with body-mind? Maharaj, a number of minds and bodies are formed out of that principle. It is the source of creation. Millions of species are created out of that basic principle. It is Mula Maya, the seed illusion. Visitor, is I am creating you? Maharaj, out of my beingness are created the three worlds. In my dream world millions of worms, human beings etc. are created. When and from where did that dream world emerge? It emerged from the apparent waking in the dream state. Visitor, if I close my eyes, does it mean that you do not exist? Maharaj, who told you that your eyes are closed? Visitor, my I amness. Maharaj, when you shut your eyes, was your consciousness also shut? Visitor, number. Maharaj, as a result of the love union of embodied objects termed as parents, you are the reminder that you are the creation resulting from their blissful moment. The memory, I am, reminds of the blissful moment. This form, the embodied person, is a reminder of the bliss. You have collected a lot of knowledge, and you think yourself fit to be a guru, and then you will expound the knowledge that is the collected knowledge, and not the revealed knowledge of your own. The knowledge is not fully revealed to you. You have not realized yourself, and hence you will be pseudo-gurus. Your existence was in a dormant condition in your father and mother. Now you want to proceed somewhere from here. From where did you spring? Go to the source from which you emerged. Be there first. Somebody had the fun of bliss and I suffer and cry for 100 years. Visitor, is it correct to compare I amness to a room with two doors? On one side you see the world, and out of the other you perceive Parabrahman. Maharaj, there are no doors to Parabrahman. Dear son, look at the door from which you emerged. Before emerging out of that door, how and where were you? You can put questions relating to this subject. Visitor, there is love and suffering too. In this I am. Maharaj, the cause is happiness, and the result is amness. The cause is bliss, but the outcome has to suffer from the beginning till the end. Visitor, In that passing moment is there awareness of love and suffering simultaneously? Maharaj, everything that prevails in the cosmos at the time of love is registered in the outcome, and, incidentally, the outcome takes the form, is a replica, of the parents. Your birth means a film of the universe at that time. It is not merely a birth, it is charged with universe inside and outside. Visitor, once you are born, consciousness is continuous, but in my meditation it comes and goes. Maharaj, beingness is continuous and it knows itself only with the aid of a body form, while without it, it does not know itself, that is, it is in the absolute state. Who is the witness of the coming and going of the consciousness? Visitor, just awareness. Maharaj, what you say is correct in a way, but actually it is not so. It is like saying that I promise to give you 10,000 rupees, but the awareness is the para-Brahman state, but it is only a word. You have to abide in that state. At present, I am is in the beingness state. But when I do not have the knowingness of the I am illusion, then the Purna Brahman or para-Brahman state prevails. In the absence of the touch of I amness, I am the total complete Purna Brahman state, the permanent state. The borderline of beingness and non-beingness is intellect boggling, because the intellect subsides at that precise location. This borderline is the Mahayoga. In the phrase you and I, once the conjunction and is removed, no duality exists, that is, there is no separateness of you and I. Similarly, this beingness is like a conjunction. When it is removed, no duality remains. You must be at that borderline, that Mahayoga state. You descend into the go down of that state, which is the title of birth. Visitor, where is the place of anger, fear and hate in that go down? In beingness, the birth principle, that touch of I am, Maharaj, in the seed of those two forms parents, there is potential for innumerable universes. Visitor, what you say very much agrees with the teachings of J. Krishnamurti. Maharaj, the one who understands this speck of ignorance that is beingness can speak of anything he likes. In the space of that speck of beingness innumerable universes dwell. If you wish to understand this better, take the example of a dream world. This dream world is nothing but the apparent waking state and deep sleep. Of very short duration, it is like touch and go. In the dream a lot of dream universes are created. The 28th of January, 1980. End of. Chapters 1 to Chapter 7 of 21 chapters. The Nectar of Immortality. Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj's Discourses on the Eternal. Edited by Robert Powell PhD. Thanks and gratitude to the editor, Sri Robert Powell, for the compilation and the book. Thanks and gratitude to the website archive.org for the text used in this video.